You're listening to the No Bullshit Vegan Podcast, episode 189, in which I catch up with Coach Meghan Callaway. We talk about our respective injuries and how they affected our training, Meghan's 3 E's, education, empowerment, and excitement in communicating with her audience, and more.
Welcome to the No Bullshit Vegan Podcast, myth-busting and evidence-based advice to help you kick butt with your health and fitness on a vegan diet. Here's your host, Karina Inkster.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Karina, your go-to no BS vegan fitness and nutrition coach. Thanks so much for joining me today. My guest, Meghan Callaway, was one of the very first guests that I ever had on this show. So she was on episode 3 of the No BS Vegan Podcast. And then she came back in episode 41, where we caught up and talked about the coaching world. And we have not had a chat since. We follow each other on Instagram, we chat there occasionally, but we haven't had a face-to-face. So it was high time. She is a coach with 21 years of experience. She's a lifelong athlete and an animal lover. Her Ultimate Pull-Ups program has been featured in the New York Times and has been followed by thousands of people in almost 90 countries since it was released in 2017. Meghan grew up playing sports, including making the Majors Baseball All-Star team that competed to qualify for the Little League World Series. She was the only girl in the entire league. And she also played competitive soccer for 27 years. In her later 30s, and continuing now in her 40s, Meghan achieved incredible feats of strength in calisthenics exercises like muscle-ups, pull-ups, pistol squats, back levers, and more. Meghan has published 9 in-depth programs, including the Ultimate Push-Up Program, Muscle Up Program, Hip Flexor and Core Guide, Pistol Squat Program, and much more. Head to our show notes at nobullshitvegan.com/189 to check them out. Here's our discussion. Meghan, so great to speak with you. I'm looking forward to catching up.
As I cut you off before you even finished, but speak with you as well. Again, when was the last time we spoke? I was trying to think about that.
The last time we had a conversation, it's been a while. We've been chatting on Instagram and stuff, but podcast, couple years at least.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So a lot has happened. A lot has happened.
A lot.
What's going on in Meghan's world? You have a new place. Congrats on that. You have a new kitten. There's some injury stuff we're going to talk about. You've been absolutely crushing your training. I feel like it's a whole world of things Meghan has been up to.
Yeah, I bought a place back in October. Wasn't really, well, I shouldn't say it wasn't planned. I didn't think I'd be able to afford to buy in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
At least something I joke other than a shack in the middle of nowhere. So when it became a reality, I started looking in July and I ended up finding something in late September and I moved in at the end of, October 20th was the day I officially moved in.
Wow.
So that was fast and very chaotic. New kitten, Claudia, she's absolutely adorable.
Oh my goodness.
Her and Eric just play for hours on end.
So cute.
My 18-year-old cat, we lost her in October and that was absolutely
right.
Still is horrific.
Yes. I'm sorry about that. I know from experience how hard that is. It's happened twice to me, more times to Murray, I think. But one of those times was his really old cat who was 18 or 19, kind of like Bailey. There's no words to describe it. So we both have been dealing with various injury situations that affect our training and how we're operating in the gym and recovery times and maybe how we operate with clients as well. But tell me about what happened for you, because it meant a lot of time without training upper body specifically.
Well, first of all, I'm thrilled to say for the past month, I'm better. I have no symptoms and I'm back to full training again. And I'm now just working back to building back full strength.
Awesome.
And it's insane how quickly my strength has come back, which I guess is a testament, obviously, muscle memory, my experience, my knowledge, stuff like that. So I'm super excited. So everything is positive. So we'll start with that.
That's good. I like that framing.
I am so responsible when it comes to taking care of myself, not doing too much, progressing appropriately, and I never get hurt. But what I ended up doing, it was one of those things where after you just nobody can see me, I'm just banging myself on my head, just being like, what was I thinking? I can't remember why I was feeling a bit run down. I think I might have just had a few nights in a row of not great sleep. The way I split my training, even just so people can kind of understand if they don't know. So I have an 8-day cycle that I run through. Or no, it was a 12-day cycle at the time, but anyway, it was a calisthenics workout where it was primarily my focus was muscle ups, and then after that I do other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be a day where I was going for max reps. So in my 12-day cycle, I would have day one for my upper body would be max reps. Day two, I'd usually do sets of 3 or 4, but a lot of volume and very little rest. And then the third day, it would maybe be kind of like trick muscle ups or weighted muscle ups. So I'm very responsible with what I do. But when I went to train that day, I could tell right away it was just one of those days. My pull felt terrible. I just felt weak. I felt lethargic. Over the course of the years I've been training muscle ups, I have never had abnormal soreness. I have never felt like I was overusing my biceps or my forearms or anything. They've always felt great. But that day I could tell I'm just like, oh, my pull feels terrible. I can tell I'm totally overusing my biceps and my forearms. So instead of being smart, instead of doing what I normally, well, what I would tell my clients, practicing what I preach, I should have taken the day and just done something different.
Mm-hmm.
I decided instead to do sets of 3. So instead of going for max reps, I did sets of 3. And it still didn't feel great, but I did it anyway. The following day, or maybe it was even a few days after, I could just tell that my brachioradialis, the brachialis, and the supinator were absolutely jacked.
Mm.
And I have never had that before. And I thought it was just muscle soreness, or felt more like tension and soreness, and I felt like it would go away. Then I started getting, it just felt like it was neural tension. It had nothing to do with muscle tightness. I could tell it was neurally driven.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I would go to do anything, it just felt like those muscles were going to snap. So, of course, I listened to my body then. I modified. I didn't do anything remotely taxing. Then I started getting stranger symptoms where I still had those symptoms, but then I started getting my skin and my forearms felt really tight, like fascia, I guess. And it felt like saran wrap that was just strangling my arms. Not to that extreme, but it just felt weird and gross.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking it up online just because everybody, it's always like, oh, ulnar nerve, which is on the baby finger side. This was on the thumb side.
Mm.
And I eventually figured out that it was a superficial radial nerve. And instead of going to see the person that I saw who actually helped me, I tried doing a few things on my own. Well, first of all, I thought it would go away on its own. Then doing normal stuff, even that I do just for basic maintenance. For example, do you know nerve flossing?
Yes, for sure.
So I do that religiously anyway, just as maintenance. But because the muscles, I think what happened, they got super jacked. They were compressing the nerve. The nerve was not able to glide, which in turn irritated the nerve, which makes the muscle tighter, which makes the nerve
Mm-hmm.
worse. And so it's a vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But because the nerve was not able to glide, doing the nerve flossing, it was a major irritant. And so that set me back probably a good 2 to 4 weeks each time I tried that. I went for dry needling back in June. My mind and heart was in the right place. Normally, with the dry needling, I haven't done it in years, but it can help if the muscles are a bit tight. It can help with that. And then I thought the nerve would relax, and then in turn, the muscle would relax. It ended up making it so much worse. And then I just had a lot of other stuff, like super stressful stuff going on. Bailey, for instance, got sick in May. So she was my number one priority. My mom had a bit of an incident with her knee, and I was super concerned, where she had to go to the hospital, and I was super concerned with that.
Mm.
And then just trying to manage my job, then buying a place. So I
That's
just
a
put my
lot.
recovery on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I realistically probably would have been better in, I'd say maybe 2 to 3 weeks. It ended up being about 7 months.
Oh my goodness.
And everything, of course, this is the other thing, as you know, if you have a leg or like a lower body injury, it's I shouldn't say very easy, but it's fairly easy to not use your legs. You can either hop on one leg, you cannot walk at all. You have to use your arms for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, obviously eating, driving, showering, you name it, you're using your arm. Oh, computer.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Yeah.
So everything I did, it irritated it. And so it was just frustrating that it took forever to get better until I saw the person that I saw, and I immediately, it helped relieve the nerve without triggering it, which was the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. And that was well, if you're in America, it's physical therapist. If you're in Canada, it's physiotherapist.
Well, technically she's under the chiropractic branch,
Mm-hmm.
but I still call her a physio, no adjustments. It's largely somebody, she knows how to manipulate the nerve, get it gliding again, work on the muscles without irritating it. Like, I just call her a physio because it's easier for people to understand.
Right, that makes sense.
Like, technically, she's an active release ART.
Yep.
I'm very, very jaded when it comes to physios based on my past experiences and even stuff I see.
Mhm.
I'm very hesitant to refer out, but she is somebody I would refer out to in a heartbeat.
Amazing.
Her and her associate,
Mhm.
the people who worked on me, and the improvement, it was immediate.
That's amazing.
And even my goal, so it was still bad when I moved. And luckily, I had to do very little of the moving myself.
Mhm.
But even the day that I moved in, hanging up my clothes, sorting, you name it, I didn't do anything heavy. But even that, my goal was to not make myself worse during the move. Then I could focus on getting better.
Mhm.
And so once the move happened, I could just really focus on getting better. And then I want to say within a week that I started seeing her, I was slowly back to doing upper body training. And then I think tomorrow will be just under a month that I've been doing pull ups.
Wow. And from what I've seen,
Yeah.
you're posting on Instagram and, just kind of like sharing your comeback essentially.
Yeah.
They look strong, form is solid. You mentioned muscle memory. I mean, that's obviously there. It's pretty amazing how the foundation that you've built for years and years before this
Yeah.
is now really coming into play.
Well, it's interesting just because, as you know, when you're injured, it is so easy to guard.
Mhm.
And so even when I started doing them the first time, doing pull-ups, I should say, I was a little bit guarded. It was a bilateral injury, which is also interesting. Normally, it's either one side or the other.
Mm.
For me, it was great because it was both sides.
Well, at least it's even.
Well, the left side, I'm left-handed. My left arm was worse.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I taught myself how to eat with my right hand. I was doing everything with my right hand. So I'm really good at doing stuff with my right hand now. But even I film myself, and I was filming myself with my top off just to see how even I was. And I could see I was totally guarding on the one side,
Mm.
not because it hurt, but just because I was a little bit apprehensive. So right away, I would coach a client, I coached myself and made the corrections. Right away, it evened out, and it hasn't been an issue since.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how the coaching eye,
Mm.
it's a whole other level when it comes to recovery and training through injury, all of these kind of things. I mean, it's a different scenario if you can film yourself and look at yourself as you would if you were a client. That's a whole other skill set that a lot of folks don't have access to.
Yes. And I love having the gym at my place.
Mhm.
I can do everything I want in my own time frame. Obviously, if you're at the gym, you can't, well, some people do, but you can't stay in the rack the whole time and then just jog it, film, rest between sets. And
You can do whatever you want.
exactly.
It's pretty great. The one thing that I've realized with having my own gym, so I've got, I think it's 16 feet by 10 feet. So
Mm.
like 160 square feet basically, which is pretty small. It is enough for two people to train in there at the same time if you have a plan,
Yeah.
like if you're doing supersets or something. But anyways, the point is the one thing that I miss that I didn't know I missed until like a year into working out on my own is just like having other humans around, but not necessarily ones that you're talking with, just kind of like they're doing the same thing. We're all there lifting. It's just like the atmosphere, I guess.
I have a membership and I laugh because, first of all, I needed to get my arms better so I could actually do what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
The thing that I truly miss is a trap bar.
Oh, yeah.
The only gym that I've been in aside from my own was when I was in Toronto when I trained at the Toronto Blue Jays gym, which is
Oh, right. Amazing.
so I have been planning on going to the gym to use the trap bar, but for the past couple of times I wake up and at the last second I'm like, "Oh, I just love being at my house." Also, I do have certain things here that you cannot do in the gym anyway.
Hmm. Like, are some of those like more kind of calisthenics related?
So anything upper body, it makes no sense for me to go to the gym. It is impossible unless you're in a gym that specializes in calisthenics.
Hmm.
It is impossible to find gyms where they have bars where you can actually do muscle ups.
Yeah.
You will often have the neutral grip, or you'll have the angle, or you will have a low ceiling.
Hmm. And even if you can do pull-ups, right? That doesn't mean that there's enough space up there for a full muscle up.
Usually not. So for that, also very few gyms have proper straight bars for tricep dips.
Oh, yeah. Right.
You could use the Smith machine. And that was something I've thought about too. You could do muscle ups on the Smith machine in an L sit, maybe, depending on
Mm-hmm.
if they have a Smith machine. For my upper body stuff, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me to go to the gym for that.
Makes sense.
Lower body, I want to use a trap bar, I want to use a barbell for certain things, but I have a really good Nordic bench at my house. So
Mm.
that you can't find at a gym.
Right.
I on Amazon, I forget what it's called. I think it's called the glute hamstring roller, but it's like it's not a bar. It's like this flat kind of metal contraption, almost with like a skateboard wheel on either side.
Hmm.
Awesome for hamstring slide outs, but I use it for lateral lunges. I've been doing reverse lunges with it. What something I did yesterday, and my hamstrings are actually surprisingly sore today. It's a single leg RDL, and your other foot is on the roller.
Mm.
And so you do the single leg RDL, and you stride back with the non working leg, but the majority of your weight, close to all of your weight, is on the front leg.
Hmm.
It absolutely crushes the hamstrings and glutes. But what is super cool, over the course of the past 7 months when I was hurt, I had to change my training schedule. So I couldn't do any upper body. Again, I would have been able to do it a lot sooner if I'd seen the physio right away. But what I did, instead of training my legs usually I'd leave 2 to 3 days between
Mm-hmm.
because of all the other stuff I was doing. I was
Mm-hmm.
training my legs hard every other day.
Right.
But because I didn't want to hold the weights due to the nerve injury, pre COVID, for my muscle ups, for my pull ups, I bought a weight belt that I would
Mm.
use for weighted pull ups, weighted muscle ups, weighted dips. So I have heavy dumbbells. I could hang 100 pounds off this belt. So I could load my lower body pretty well doing unilateral work.
Mm-hmm.
I can make it pauses with negative reps. This glute hamstring roller absolutely crushes your lower body. Using even 100 pounds is heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm now loading up to 140 pounds.
Wow, you're a beast.
I'll hold 100 off the belt, and then I'll hold 20 in either hand.
Right. Do your clients use weight vests sometimes in this context? Like we have a client right now who's dealing with a shoulder issue and actually has to take 2 weeks off completely from upper body training. But the weighted vest,
Mhm.
she's still doing lunges and sumo squats and she's working with lighter weights than 140 pounds. So the vest is like 40, I think.
Yeah, 40. No, vests are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably gonna get one. I think base blocks.
I think so.
They're the company, they sponsor me. You see my single bar,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
and I know they have one, but I'm not sure if they have it in Canada yet.
Okay. They're adjustable and there's like little pockets that you can put weights in. So it's not just like, here's a 20-pound weighted vest and here's a 30-pound. Like there's one that goes from 10 to 60 or something.
And for weighted push-ups, they'd be great. Pull-ups,
Yeah.
muscle-ups, no, just because you're locked in position and you couldn't really you couldn't transition with the vest, I don't think.
Yeah. It's kind of boxy. It's like wearing a straight jacket.
Yeah. So no, I love weight vests.
Hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what are you up to these days in terms of like working with clients? I know you're working on a program that's coming out soon.
Yeah.
You're still doing online training, I assume?
Yeah. I consider myself so lucky because my programs are so popular. I don't have to coach people if I don't want to,
That's awesome.
but I love doing it.
Hmm.
I love coaching clients, so I still do the group of clients that I train. It's fairly small. I don't take on that many clients. So, and most of the people who've been with me, I have some who've been with me for 8 years. I have somebody who's coming up on 5. Most of them are fairly long term.
Hmm.
And I can be just be super selective, work with people I know I will be a great fit for them. And I guess I can kind of be selfish in a way and work with people where I just feel truly, truly, truly excited.
Totally.
And don't get me wrong, working with everybody excites me. I still love it. But I love having this freedom again where I can go spend more time with my mom and the cats,
Hmm.
spending more time in my new place, focusing on my own mental and physical health, other programs where I can reach larger groups of people, I can help larger groups of people.
Hmm.
Also love teaching. So I do want to get more into doing the workshops, and I've done some, but I definitely plan on getting into more. And even over this past 7 months, I have not been able to, just because I would not have been able to coach pull ups, for example, or anything.
Right. Good point. This is where the online world comes in, though, because, with various injuries, you can still coach clients.
Yeah.
We often do form videos and kind of like live checks with folks on Zoom, depending on what level of coaching they're at. So that might be affected in certain cases. But generally, I mean, we're programming. We've got a library of videos so people know what things are supposed to look like.
That's the whole thing too, where over the past 7 months, and you'll be able to tell now when videos are new versus when they're not. You'll see in my new gym or in my living room, the wooden's
Right.
great for a lot of things. Over the past 7 months, I basically film nothing, very little. My new program that's coming out, because I have hundreds or even thousands of videos, some people, they focus way too much on, oh, am I wearing the same outfit in all the videos? Is the background the same? Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. People care about results. They don't care about the outfit you're wearing or whether or not the background's the same.
Yes. And you know what? People who do care about what outfit you're wearing or how you look or how jacked you are or how ripped your abs are, they're following us. And I just mean you and me specifically for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, they're not my idea.
No, they're not going to be our clients anyways.
Why, I can't remember their exact words, but I get messages here and there, not all the time. And funny enough, a lot of them are actually from men. And they say they love it, how I don't get all dolled up for my videos.
Hmm.
I mean, each are her own. If you like to and it makes you feel great, fantastic. I'm all for it.
Hmm.
But for me, I don't like doing that.
Totally.
No. So me, I feel most comfortable in what people see me wearing. And that's just me.
Yeah. Well, this is why being our authentic selves on the internet
Yes.
then attracts the specific people that we want to work with, right? So people who are looking at my Instagram are not seeing like the TNA shots or the bikini beach shots. There's none of those.
Yeah, same here.
Same with yours. And so if that's what they're there for, I mean, sometimes you see people who are so-called fitness pros who have like 2 million followers or whatever, and every single photo is them in a bikini.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but how does that translate into actual relationships with humans whom you're coaching?
Well, something that has just started happening, and it's the stupid algorithm. In a post a few days ago, it was a quote post talking about the combination exercises.
Mhm.
If you want to get stronger, stop doing combination exercises where the upper body component dramatically reduces the amount of weight you can use with your lower body.
Yes. So an example, from yours is like a squat with a curl, right?
Yeah, squat with a curl, or you often will see a squat with the upright row, which kind of kills me. I saw a deadlift combined with bicep curl. And so since I made this post, I used to love my suggested feed page or my post page. It was all animals
Hmm.
or it was all calisthenics. It was a combo of that. Now I am literally seeing probably about 30, 40% of my posts are in quotations, the influencers,
Mm.
men and women. It's not just women, but all the videos are targeting women.
Hmm.
And what I've been seeing, so these ridiculous combination exercises, but I had never heard of this term. They're going on and on about snatch your waist.
Oh, good Lord. Yes. This is going on my list of the worst terms in the fitness industry from 2024.
Somebody taught me how to hide the words on threads because I didn't know,
Mm.
and I kept seeing, for example, unpopular opinion.
Oh my
The
God.
ones that post that I made, I hid all those words.
Girl boss.
Oh
What
my
else
god,
was there?
girl
There were a
boss,
whole bunch.
gym girly,
Jim. Oh God. Yes.
gym girly, and hot take also is annoying.
Agreed. Okay. I need to learn how to block certain terms then.
I have to go into my settings, and I can tell you. I have to actually physically see it to know.
Right.
So, unfortunately, now in my suggested feed page or post, whatever the heck it's called on Instagram, I'm seeing all of these ridiculous combination exercises. And so I normally ignore things, I normally don't comment, but it is so frustrating because people see this. And again, something is better than nothing. So, of course, if somebody's doing nothing and they do this, it's better than nothing.
Hmm.
But if they want to get stronger, if they want to feel good, a lot of the reasons why people train, those exercises are so pointless.
Hmm.
And so I now have a pre-written comment I'm copying, pasting, and it's almost essentially like what the post was regarding the combination exercises. But then I also, again, like this waist snatching or whatever, I think they're referring to spot reduction, which we know is total BS.
Of course.
And this guy, he had a post today. I could not believe it. I screenshotted it because I was so horrified, and I just shared it with a friend because I told her about the algorithm and how I've been targeted with all of these posts. It said something about snatch your waist and lose your. It's a very misogynistic term. Oh my gosh, fupa or something?
Oh, is it like the lower abdomen little like pooch thing or something? Forget what the actual acronym is, but it's basically lower belly fat.
Yes, but with a very misogynistic, like very sexist.
Yes.
And so I responded again, and I had my copy paste, and then again talking about there's no such thing as spot reduction.
Oh my God.
It's so frustrating. And again, women.
So, how do you, as someone in the fitness industry, see, I was just having this conversation with a client yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I feel like the whole fitness industry is fucked. And then other times, I'm grateful to be able to chip away at tiny little pieces of it from within. So, how do you reconcile this?
Well, usually I feel that way, but when my entire suggested post feed is that, I'm just.
Mm,
And then you see the people have 2 million followers, and the video, the one that I saw in particular, talking about the food power, whatever it is, I think it had 70,000 likes.
wow.
And I read the comments, and none of the comments were negative. They were all. He was using ManyChat. You know ManyChat.
Yes.
He was using ManyChat, and so all the people were commenting whatever his trigger word was. So they were obviously into what he was selling.
That's too much.
Again, I usually stay in my tunnel, but occasionally I come out when I'm provoked. I'm like a bear in the cave, and I'm
Don't
provoked.
poke the Meghan. Don't poke the Meghan with a pointed stick.
It's true. So I just do my own thing. Again, my 3 E's: educate, empower, excite.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Going back to a previous topic, because it just popped into my brain,
Yeah.
I was going to mention something around your home gym and the trap bar.
Ah,
Question for you there. So, the trap bar, just for listeners if they don't know, it's a deadlift specific bar that slightly changes the angle that your body's at. And so you're able to actually have a more neutral grip as well because your palms are facing each other versus having a barbell in front of you. It's still mostly for deadlifting, although people do other things with it like weighted carries.
or you could do reverse lunges.
Sure.
I've never used one, but it's not the full hex. The back is not there.
Oh, right.
So, for example, say you were using a regular trap bar and you go to do a reverse. Yeah, I can't even talk. A reverse lunge.
Yes, there might not be enough space.
You might hit the bar.
Yeah.
The one that I had at my old gym, the gym that I worked at, it was massive. Normally they're 45 pounds. This one, it was 67 pounds or something.
Yeah.
So it was gigantic. So the inside was a lot bigger, so it did not interfere. But some bars, they have no back.
That's pretty smart.
They're really cool.
A lot of people like them just because deadlifts in particular feel better for their back or just for their body proportions. I don't have one, but what I did get recently was a safety squat bar.
A client of mine just got one of those.
Oh, why did it take me so long to get one of those?
See, I don't have the space. Now, your gym, you said what is it, 16 by?
16 by 10.
I think mine is 9 by 7. So mine. So I don't have the space. Like I legitimately do not have the space. And I even have between my bedroom and bathroom, there's this little hallway with a closet on either side. The one closet is a gym closet where I have my Nordic bench, I have all my bands, I have a lot of other stuff. So I can bring things to and from the gym if I like.
Well, that's smart. So it doesn't live there all the time and you've got a little bit of floor space to work with.
Yeah, I don't want to have the entire space packed with stuff, and I can move the bar out, like the single bar that I use for the muscle ups and the pull ups and the dips. And
right.
it's
That
nice
makes sense.
to have that space, and then for filming. Yeah.
That's a good point too. So you mentioned a client just got a safety squat bar. Is that specifically because of an injury? This, for me, it's my shoulder. So I can do squats where my hands are actually slightly in front of my shoulders versus having to, kind of stretch the pecs a little.
One of my clients, Mark, my client in Toronto, who president of the Jays.
Oh, right.
That gym, it's the best gym I've ever been to by far. And apparently it's the best gym in all of Major League Baseball. And I do not doubt it for a second based on what I saw. But he does safety bar squats, and it feels great on his shoulders. My client in the UK, She's a coach as well. She's a trap bar. She's a fantastic home gym, and she just wanted to get something different
Interesting.
or something additional, I should say.
Right.
And she has no shoulder issues. She front squats. She sometimes back squats, but she just wanted something different.
Well, it is very different, I can tell you that.
And it's heavier too.
It is. Yeah.
I looked up the weight online and it varies. I can't remember like I know it's a lot heavier than the standard 45 bar.
Well, it depends. Mine is only 5 pounds more. So it's only 50, but that's because it's modular. So I had to put it together.
Yeah.
But I'm not squatting an insane amount of weight. So I'm not really concerned about that being an issue. But other ones, it's kind of like trap bars, right? They vary in weight depending on how wide they are. And they're not super standard like Olympic bars.
I actually preferred the big bar. And whenever I share a video, people are like, how big is that bar? It is gigantic. And the one thing with it, because the dimensions, because it was wider,
Hmm.
your arms are obviously, your hands are a lot farther off the sides of your body than if the bar was smaller.
Right.
So it was a little bit harder to stabilize in a way, but I ended up liking it a lot more.
Interesting. I haven't tried one of those.
Or I got used to it.
Yeah. I think that's where I'm at right now. It feels very different.
Yeah.
I think just based on like it's a very high, it would be called a high bar squat if you were back squatting with where that is. And it's also padded. So the bar is slightly further away from you because the whole neck and delt area is basically just padding, not the bar sitting on you.
And then your hands are in it almost like a neutral front squat position. You need a lot less wrist mobility, shoulder mobility.
Yeah. So I don't know why it took me so long to get one of these things because it is freaking genius.
It's true. And no regular gyms have.
Yeah, like commercial gyms, there's no. It's kind of like a trap bar. Like maybe they'll have a trap bar, but they for sure will not have a safety squat bar,
No, most gyms don't.
which is unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. What was your injury?
Well, good question. I don't want to jinx it, but at this point, it's actually okay.
Excellent.
But the problem is overuse. So it's not an acute injury. It's not like an accident. It's not like one instance of, for example, like training when I should have taken the day off. This is a
Yeah.
cumulative thing,
Yeah.
and it's been 3 years. So unfortunately, 3 of the things that I love most in life, which is distance swimming, chin-ups, and playing accordion, all put a lot of stress on my shoulders.
Yeah.
So swimming and pull-ups obviously are a lot of overhead reaching in different planes. And accordion is it's basically like external rotations in slow-mo with weight, but only for one side.
How heavy is the accordion?
They vary. It's usually 25 pounds-ish.
Heavy.
Yeah. Especially if you're practicing, most days. I do practice music every single day, but not always accordion. Sometimes it's piano or whatever.
Yeah. I know we're child free, but that's a big toddler.
Yeah, it is. When you put it that way. So it's most likely biceps tendonitis. I am on a list to get an MRI to take a look. I've had ultrasound. I've seen 8 different practitioners. I shit you not.
Oh my gosh.
And like, honestly, there is only so much you can do if it's overuse, right?
Yep. Usually, I guess in your case,
Yeah,
you can what you love,
I know.
but then your arms doing everything.
Well, this is the thing. And I think what's helped is I did finally make a decision to take legitimate time off 2 of the things that aggravate it most,
Yeah.
which is swimming and accordion. And also, I haven't been doing pull-ups, unfortunately, which, as I'm sure you can understand, has sucked.
It was the muscle up part that killed me.
Right. Okay.
Pull-ups, don't get me wrong, I love pull-ups.
Well, that's kind of like your thing now.
Yeah.
So anyways, I took 3 months off swimming. I'm on like week 13 of not swimming.
Oh,
But I have to tell you, I've come up with some pretty interesting ways to get cardio in the pool still.
how are you doing it?
Well, the main technique, I guess, is treading water with additional weight.
Ugh.
Oh my God. So, okay, did you know that we actually only weigh 5% of our body weight in the water? So a 250-pound person in the water, I mean, technically they still weigh 250, obviously, but with the levels of buoyancy and whatnot, they only weigh 12 and a half pounds.
That makes sense.
It does make sense. I mean, we're mostly water.
Floating, you feel very light.
Yeah, totally. But that means adding 5 pounds is like 100-pound person that you're now keeping afloat in the water.
That's crazy.
Right? So at first, when I started doing this a couple months ago, my heart rate was at like 157. I could only do it for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It was insane. And now I'm doing it for way longer and I can't get my heart rate past 120.
Wow.
So I feel like if there's an Olympic event for treading water with a brick, I am down. But it's so boring.
Mm,
I'm not doing any sort of like distance training,
yeah.
but it's still mainly I'm there just for the cardio aspect that I'm missing otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't run.
I'm not able to run.
Right.
Even walking, I would walk, but nothing. No positions felt good. Sitting, I had to sit in the most ridiculous position on the couch. Sleeping was uncomfortable. Everything I did. And the thing with this injury, it was not excruciating. It wasn't sharp nerve pain. It wasn't the zinging nerve pain. It was just severe, severe muscle tension in the areas that I mentioned. And then the really, really weird superficial tightness.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to explain. So because there was no agony, so to speak, you generally will push through things or do things
Right.
where normally you might not otherwise do it. You think, oh, well, I just won't do it next time.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And it's actually, it's very similar for me. Like the actual pain level is like 3 out of 10,
Yeah, exactly.
but it's enough. You don't want it to get worse. There are things that can happen if you don't listen to your body's signals. Like, I don't want the tendon eventually to snap.
One thing unrelated to this conversation, something that recently happened on social media that's just so ridiculous. I shared actually, it was on Threads. And I shared it was similar to my Instagram video about the pull-ups that I did. It was I forget what it was. It was sets of 8.
Mm-hmm.
Some random dude wrote, "Oh, you probably hurt yourself doing a fucking stupid exercise." Like that. And so
What?
I blocked him. And then I wrote a post, not about him, but I just shared the response. And I said, first of all, guy has no clue how I injured myself. It could have been a car accident. It could have been anything. He has no idea.
Right. Of course.
Even if I hurt myself doing an exercise, guess what? Athletes get hurt.
Mhm.
Even if you take the best care of yourself, injuries happen. 3, the lack of empathy is absolutely appalling. And then 4, I numbered everything. I numbered my points. And I just said, obviously, the comment is 100% to do with him, his insecurities, and his perceived shortcomings. Has nothing to do with me.
Well said. Is this generally how you approach the trolls on the internets? Because if we as online business owners and coaches on the internets put out our material, we're not inviting feedback, but it seems to be an inevitable part of existing on the internet. Is this kind of approach of like, it's more about him? Honestly, usually it's a him. And all these points that you just mentioned.
Always.
Yes. Is that kind of how you just frame all of these things?
Well, I consider myself very lucky because considering the fact I have a decent sized audience, I don't get many negative comments at all. Yes, of course, I get them, but not all the time. I know some people probably get dozens or hundreds a day or a week.
Mm-hmm.
I might in a year block a handful of people. And a lot of the time, if I block them, the comments have nothing to do with me. It might be something hateful I see, something homophobic or transphobic or you name it, something racist.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, you're blocked.
Yes. Wow. Well, I think also, I don't know actually, but my theory is that your content focuses very heavily on education.
Yes.
Versus what we talked about before, where people are just posting photos of themselves or, a day in the life or here's my morning routine and like all that bullshit.
Oh, I just commented below. Again, I've been triggered more lately than usual. And I can't remember if you commented as well. I'm sorry, we do not all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Oh, I saw that.
Business bro guy, business bro in quotations or business coach or whatever.
Yeah. Business douche bro. They're a species.
Broke down all of the hours in the week. We all have 24 hour or the same 24 hours in a day. And so I responded, I can't remember my exact words, but I said, talk about a privileged and entitled or elitist comment.
Mm-hmm.
Children, pets, looking after a sick family member, friend, commuting.
Single parent with 3 jobs.
My mom was a single mom, 2 kids. We played sometimes 2 or 3 different sports at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
full-time job. It's like, hello. And she actually
Yeah.
still did do some stuff, but no, we do not all have the same 24 hours in a day.
100%. I have to say I like your copy and paste approach because my Instagram suggested
Mhm.
search page, whatever it's called, it's also similarly stuff I'm not actually interested in. It's a lot of quote transformations,
Oh, yeah.
which I hate, like before and after photos. As you know, we don't use those anywhere in our marketing. It's all like, women sitting there in bikinis with their 8 packs. And it's not stuff I'm interested in. Maybe it's because I've been posting similar content to you, like why this stuff is actually not great for the fitness industry. And Instagram is like, oh, you want to see more of this, right? But I kind of like the copy paste approach because they're all different accounts. I could just have the same message to all these people.
I only just started doing this, and I have a folder in my notes just called social media responses.
Oh, brilliant.
So, say I get asked certain questions a lot. For example, say I share an exercise, well, how much weight should I use?
Oh, yes. You just have a canned response for that because it's the same
Well, it's like
answer.
weight that allows you to perform the target number of reps with good form and it feels good.
Yeah, exactly.
The weight that I use is not relevant to the weight that you might use.
Correct.
So that's one of the ones. There's so many different ones, but now these ridiculous posts are popping up. If I feel the need to respond and I think the response is okay, and again, even if I'm really annoyed, I always try to be respectful.
Hmm.
I try to educate, I try to be respectful, and then I'm now saving my answers so I can copy paste.
That's genius.
And so I've been copy pasting these stupid combo exercises. And I say stupid just because most of the messaging, again, snatch your waist, tone this, shrink this, burn calories. It's just like
Yeah.
all to women.
All to women and all putting exercise in a negative light as if the only reason you should be moving your body is to make it smaller.
Yeah. And to change yourself.
Right. Exactly.
What about feeling empowered? What about being able to do cool shit? What about feeling good?
Right.
And as I talk about, even though with my clients, we don't focus on the physical transformation, a lot of the time people are like, oh my God, like, holy shit, my arms are way more muscular than they were.
Exactly.
Somebody might have lost a bit of weight, but that's not
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Exactly the same.
Byproduct, so we don't focus on it.
Well, and I'm not against having physique goals. We're all human. That's perfectly fine. But if we have physique goals at the cost of everything else, including mental health, including physical health, that's when it becomes a problem.
That's why I bite my tongue so hard when it comes to, for example, bodybuilding and figure competitions.
Oh, right. This is why we don't work with those people.
Well, this years and years and years ago, I was in my I'd say maybe mid 20s. And I've been doing this now, it's been over 21 years.
Hmm.
And this was in my early days. I was still living at home. I was working, the hourly rate was ridiculous. And I needed the money.
Hmm.
I had to reach out. She wanted to compete in a figure competition, wanted me to train her 5 days a week. And I could have really used the money, but I said no.
Good for you.
Again, it's not my area of expertise, but also I have no interest in it. It's not something I don't want to say condone, but it's just not something I believe in for the most part.
Like the answer is always it depends, right? But in general, though, like if we're just talking at the 10,000-foot level about figure competitions, you are teaching other folks, including your own kids, that aesthetics are the most important aspect and that strangers' opinions about your body matter.
Yes.
I'm not into that.
No, me neither. And again, there are exceptions where people can do it and it does not negatively impact their mental or physical health. But so many instances it does. And over the years,
Hmm.
I have worked with so many people who have competed in the past and it messed them up
Yes,
so badly, mentally and physically.
exactly.
And they have never been the same. And like it has just ruined them mentally and physically.
Hmm.
Those are people I have worked with and I would work with. But I would never work with somebody who wanted to compete in a figure competition. For one, of course, it's not my area of expertise.
Hmm.
But also I just do not personally believe in it. But I just believe training should be to boost your mental health, physical health. It should be enjoyable. You should not be obsessing about food, about movement, about exercise, about bringing a cooler with chicken breast to your friend's house.
Totally.
Or people who lose their periods for gosh knows how long, for months or years on end. Like, just so many people I know have been so negatively impacted.
It's the same for us. Yes, we also work with folks who are, who did it at some point
Yeah.
and who might not have been injured per se, but their relationship with food is affected. Their relationship around cardio is affected. Like the only reason they were doing cardio was to lean out and to cut or whatever. It's a pretty long-term kind of change for a lot of folks.
I'm sure that answer won't please some people, but it's something I'm passionate about and I stand for what I stand for. And
Totally. And also, as you mentioned, we're at the point where we get to choose the folks we want to work with. And so if that's not something that excites you personally as a coach, that's enough right there to choose who you want to work with. But then there's other factors that impact that decision.
and I also know in for my later teen years and for all of my 20s and even into my early 30s, I hugely struggled with my relationship with food,
Mhm.
even training.
Mhm.
I trained to burn a certain number of calories. I trained to control the way I looked. I was obsessed with, I didn't track my food, but I was just so obsessed with thinking certain things were good or bad. And everything I did back then, I have the complete opposite approach now.
Which is amazing.
So I have an effortless relationship with food, with training. It just brings me my not food bring well, food brings me joy too, but training brings me so much joy. And I know just doing the training to control purely to control how you look,
Mhm.
it is soul zapping. And I did it because I felt powerless in other elements of my life.
Oh, that's a good point.
Before I had officially come out.
Ah, okay. Right.
Personally, I had in a lot of, with most people, but professionally, I had not because the first person I told, I actually lost that client.
What? Seriously?
I was training this older woman, sweetest woman. Her daughter ended up leaving her long term boyfriend for another woman.
Uh-huh.
And so my client was devastated just because she loved the boyfriend and she confided in me. And I just listened for months and months and months, never said anything about myself.
Mhm.
And then I finally told her just to, we're normal.
Yeah.
We're normal. And
And
he ended up ghosting me. And this was someone I'd been coaching for quite a long time.
unacceptable.
And I never heard from her again. And so I thought, oh shit, I can't say anything because I needed the money.
Sure.
So for years professionally, I never said anything.
Wow.
And even now, I was talking with a friend about this recently. Since probably 2016, maybe, my audience really didn't take off until after 2020.
Mhm.
I haven't really said anything just because I'm me. It doesn't change how I go about my business, how I go about my life.
Mhm.
So I'm sure a lot of my audience doesn't even know. But that was largely why I did what I did with my eating and my training.
Wow.
And I think a lot of people do that. Not my reason, maybe, but another reason. They might feel powerless over their career, a relationship.
That's a great point. I think that's where the idea comes from. You hear a lot of times like, well, if you're not happy now, having more defined triceps isn't going to make you happy either. Or if you're not happy now, the six pack you want isn't actually going to change that. And so it's that idea, but it's actually the why behind it.
But just knowing how miserable I was with the training and the eating and how it really ruled so much of my life, it did not bring me up. It did not boost my self esteem.
Right.
Like I said, it was soul zapping.
Cool. Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing that story. I mean, as shitty as it is that something like that happened, hopefully it never happens again. It's just extra fuel for us to be authentic and to work with people who get us, right?
See, that's the whole thing. Now, back in the day, it was devastating. Now, if somebody chose not to work with me or follow me because of who I am,
Yeah.
goodbye.
Good riddance. Goodbye and good riddance. Yes.
The day after the election in the US, I shared a thread. It wasn't even me. It was, well, I know I did. I made a post and then I shared something that I thought was that I really relate to.
Hmm.
First of all, I said that I was shocked and I guess disappointed with what happened, of
Yep.
course, in the election.
Hmm.
But then I shared a post. It just hit home, so I shared it. And so many people have said it very differently. We can have a difference of opinion about what our favorite flavor of ice cream is or something like that. But I'm sorry, we cannot have a difference of opinion over racism, homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, you name it.
Exactly.
That's a deal breaker. So I shared that in my story. And I never share stuff like that on my Instagram. It's either fitness or my cats.
Yeah. Same.
But I thought it was important. And I ended up losing over 2,000 followers which is good, in under 24 hours.
Wow.
And I received one message from a woman who, and again, if somebody sends you a message like that, you know where they stand, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
But she really enjoys my content, but she does not want any drama on her social media, so she is unfollowing me. First of all, I'm like, why do you have to message me to tell me that? Can't you just unfollow me? I am not a fitness robot. I have a personal opinion. I have thoughts. I have feelings. I share free content day after day, year after year. I am entitled to my opinion.
Absolutely.
On my platform. If you don't like it.
It's not an airport. You don't have to announce your departure. Just leave.
I like that. And again, I go very out of my way to stick to pretty much all fitness. And then the past month, I've been sharing a lot of animal stuff, and I don't care.
No. Well,
my audience,
we as your audience do appreciate and love the cat content. Just saying.
Oh, I get way more positive messages about the cats than I do my content.
Me too. If I have Ripley in the gym, everyone's like, oh my God, Coach Ripley. And, they don't care what I'm actually doing in there.
So I'm like, I would rather be praised over my cats than my own stuff.
Sure. Why not? I'll take it.
So heaven forbid if I want to share something in quotations political once every 10 years.
Yeah. Right. Then it's too much drama, Megan. We can't handle it.
And again, it negatively impacts so many people.
Yeah.
I've lived a very privileged life, yet I had a lot of struggles back in the day.
Sure.
But imagine how certain people are feeling.
Certain areas of the world, certain family contexts. I mean, yeah.
I have many gay friends who live in the US.
Yep.
I know what they go through on a daily basis.
It's unbelievable.
So yes, I have an opinion and I'm going to speak up. And if people don't like that, then
good riddance. It's their loss. Speaking of free content, is Instagram what you're focusing on? Where should our listeners go and creep on you if they're not already following you?
Instagram is my number one social media platform. I do have a blog where I release something every week, not to drive them to my email list, but I always share my blog posts on my email list. They always will be the first to know if I have any sales, if I release any new programs. Mm-hmm. But long-winded answer, Instagram is the best place to go for social media.
Excellent.
That's where they can find everything.
Okay, perfect. You're also, at least lately, active on Threads, which I'm actually liking. I never was on Twitter, but I'm liking Threads.
Twitter became very stressful just because, especially once COVID hit, it was either my entire feed, it was COVID, Trump, COVID.
Yes,
Trump.
Yes.
I'm just like, you know how you can make lists?
Yes.
So I have a sports list, and I would often go on just to follow, usually baseball.
Right.
Blue Jays, I go on and I read all the baseball stuff. But even over the past probably 6 months, I don't think I've posted on Twitter in over a year, and I don't go on it anymore now at all, really.
Mm-hmm. I'm liking Threads because it's words-based, and that's kind of my thing. Like, I don't watch videos. I don't listen to podcasts. I do a lot of reading. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why Threads is speaking to me a little more than TikTok, which I'm not on, mostly because our clients aren't on there either.
I am technically on TikTok, but I always hated it.
Well, we're going to have show notes to link to both your website and your Instagram.
Yeah.
And it was so great to connect with you. I mean, we're kind of like creeping on each other on the internet, but it's good to have a face-to-face.
Yes, it's been quite a few, well, at least face-to-face, many, many years, I think.
I think so. Yes. So nice to speak with you. Thanks so much.
You as well.
Megan, thanks again for making a return to the show and sharing your personal and professional experience with me and our listeners. To connect with Megan, head to our show notes at nobullshitvegan.com/189. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to the No Bullshit Vegan podcast at nobullshitvegan.com.